American energy dominance. We're witnessing right now a systematic campaign against American energy. There is a coordinated assault by the radical left, backed and paid for by the Chinese Communist Party, to seize control of our courts, to weaponize litigation against U.S. energy producers, all in order to undermine American energy dominance. At stake is a lot more than an industry. Our energy sector is the engine of American prosperity, the lifeblood of our industrial power, our national security, and our geopolitical leverage. If American energy is under attack, so is American security and American independence. The campaign against American energy is a three-pronged assault. First, foreign money from entities tied to the Chinese Communist Party flows into the United States to bankroll climate advocacy groups who litigate against American energy. Second, activist lawyers flood our courts with lawsuits designed not to win policy debates, but to bankrupt energy producers and to dismantle energy infrastructure through sheer attrition. And third, the judiciary itself is being quietly captured and brainwashed as left-wing nonprofits host closed-door trainings that indoctrinate judges to adopt the ideological goals of the climate lawfare machine. The first prong of this coordinated campaign is a strategic alliance, a cozy financial partnership between leftist billionaires, radical environmental organizations, and the Chinese Communist Party. One of the primary vehicles for this alliance is Energy Foundation China, which has funneled upwards of $12 million to U.S.-based climate advocacy groups since 2020. And this money isn't going to tree planting campaigns or to science fairs. It's flowing directly to aggressive litigation outfits like the Natural Resources Defense Council, the Rocky Mountain Institute, and the World Resources Institute, organizations that routinely file lawsuits trying to block pipelines, trying to ban gas-powered vehicles, and trying to bankrupt oil and gas companies. On paper, Energy Foundation China's goals may sound benign. Support for clean coal, electric vehicles, and global decarbonization. But that raises the obvious question. If this is truly about reducing emissions, why isn't China investing that money in reducing its own pollution? China is the #1 polluter on planet Earth. Communist China emits more carbon than the United States and Europe combined. The answer is simple, because this is not about climate. It is about global energy dominance and control. And it gets worse. The man at the helm of Energy Foundation China, Xi Zhao, is not a neutral administrator. He is a former senior official in China's National Development and Reform Commission, the agency responsible for writing the CCP's 5-year plans, coordinating industrial expansion, and steering national energy policy. Between 2000 and 2009, and again from 2012 to 2015, Professor Zhu served as a key member of China's official climate negotiation team, including during the run-up to the Paris Agreement, a deal that gave China a free pass to increase emissions until 2030, while demanding immediate, costly reductions from the United States. That was not an accident. That was not a bug. That was the purpose. And he's not the only one. Energy Foundation China's senior leadership includes other alumni of the Chinese Ministry of Ecology and Environment, and affiliated state-run institutions. This is not remotely a grassroots nonprofit. It is a foreign policy weapon disguised as philanthropy, run by Chinese Communist Party operatives. Flush with funding, the second prong of this campaign is a legal barrage aimed at bankrupting the American energy sector through a coordinated onslaught of lawsuits. And if this feels familiar, it should. It's the same playbook the left used to try to destroy President Trump. They couldn't beat him at the ballot box, so they turned to the courts. 4 indictments, dozens of civil suits, fringe legal theories given legitimacy by rogue activist judges. That wasn't about justice. It was about power. Now they're applying that same strategy to an entire sector of the American economy. Over 30 lawsuits have been filed in at least 15 Democrat-run jurisdictions, including by 12 states, targeting oil producers and gas producers and coal producers. Climate lawfare activists have infiltrated American cities and states, convincing them to sue American energy companies. Over 24 pending suits brought by our own state and local governments, manipulated by the Chinese Communist government and funded by left-wing groups. And all of them together are crippling American energy. These lawsuits use creative theories like public nuisance, climate superfund, consumer protection, but their objective is clear: cripple the fossil fuel industry through legal attrition. And the damages are staggering. One suit seeks $1.15 billion. Another demands $3.5 billion. The days of Dr. Evil demanding $1 million are long behind us. These are not good faith disputes. These are weapons. Just in fiscal year 2023, the leading climate lawfare groups, not even all of them, just the leading groups, raked in close to $500 million from U.S. energy companies. That's $500 million stripped from our energy independence. Driving these lawsuits is Shear Edling LLP, a private plaintiffs firm that has filed more than 24 suits. They're not paid by their clients. They're bankrolled by dark money empires like the New Venture Fund and the Tides Foundation, groups that launder anonymous donations into political litigation. This matters because our domestic energy industry supports over 8.5 million jobs that these zealots want to destroy. Our fossil fuels power 84% of our national energy. If these suits succeed, here's what the American public will face: skyrocketing energy costs, a weakened and unreliable power grid, and an historic collapse in American energy production. And the biggest winner in all of this, China, who's paying the bills. This is not litigation, it is strategic sabotage disguised in legalese, executed with precision and aimed squarely at the foundation of American strength. The third prong of this strategy is perhaps the most insidious, because it strikes at the very heart of the rule of law: judicial capture. It is being carried out by one organization with near total control over climate-related judicial training, the Environmental Law Institute and its Climate Judiciary Project. If a federal judge or a state judge is receiving, quote, climate science education today, chances are overwhelming that it is coming from ELI. The group has established a de facto monopoly on climate rating-related instruction for the judiciary. They've, quote unquote, trained over 2,000 judges. They claim to be neutral. They claim to be science-driven. But what they are doing is ex parte indoctrination, pressuring judges to set aside the rule of law and rule instead according to a predetermined political narrative. Left-wing bankrollers like the Hewlett Foundation and the Freedom Together Foundation fund CJP, they fund CJP to train judges, so quote-unquote train, in climate science and make them agreeable to creative climate litigation tactics. Then these left-wing bankrollers turn around and fund the climate litigators who will bring these bogus cases before those same judges that they've just indoctrinated. This is like paying the players to play and paying the umpire to call the shots the way you want them. On April 1st of this year, in my capacity as chairman of the Commerce Committee, I sent a letter to the Environmental Law Institute raising deep concerns about this program. We have also initiated oversight requests with federal agencies like NOAA, whose internal documents show a cozy relationship with ELI and its activist curricula. And here's what we've learned. The Climate Judiciary Project tells judges that, quote, the consequences of a business-as-usual scenario would be catastrophic. That's called propaganda. And yet it goes on, it encourages the judiciary to view climate litigation as a, quote, unique opportunity for, quote, accountability. It even recommends embracing novel tort theories like public nuisance to assign liability for greenhouse gas emissions. Let me ask, is this neutral? Or is that lobbying behind closed doors? The materials even applaud pending lawsuits, praising the Rhode Island AG's case as, quote, well-crafted, while failing to mention that similar claims have been dismissed by federal courts as legally baseless. And who funds these baseless CJP trainings? The same dark money donors who bankroll the lawsuits themselves, the same networks that support Shear Edling LLP. This is not how a constitutional republic functions. Courts are not supposed to be laboratories for political activism, and judges are not supposed to be trained by the plaintiff's bar that is receiving their funding from the Chinese Communist Party. What we are witnessing is judicial capture, driven by ideology, powered by money, and tolerated by far too many. This three-pronged strategy, foreign funding, mass litigation, and judicial indoctrination, is a full-spectrum assault on American energy independence. And while China drills and digs, we sue and shut down. While China dominates supply chains, we dismantle our own in court. And while China prepares for energy dominance, the American left prepares to attack our own domestic capability. Congress has a responsibility to expose the funding networks, to break the dark money pipelines, to defund the judicial indoctrination programs, and to restore legal neutrality to the courts. We must protect American energy, not just on the battlefield, but in the courtroom where this war is being quietly waged. Ranking Member Whitehouse.